Hi, I'm Shapiro with Wholesale Real Estate for you. Today we'll be discussing some basic information in regards to beginner steps to asset building. So what we'll be going over are what are assets, what kinds of assets, intangible versus tangible, what assets decrease over time and which assets increase over time. How do or can we acquire assets? Some basic building assets, information or tools, and creating a BP, a building plan for assets. So let's start. Let's dive right in. Okay, so assets are basically anything that's significant in value that you own. That's considered an asset. However, Merriam-Webster, our dictionary, and that's only for you guys that's in the 80s or below, because 90s and above probably look at the dictionary as Google. Well, before there was Google, there was Merriam-Webster dictionary. And Merriam-Webster defines assets as a person, item, value owned, something useful, or a person, entire property, or a person, corporation, associations, or estate. When we look at that to kind of analyze what are an asset, we must go into identifying some assets to do that. So we'll go over identifying assets as well as different kinds of assets, which brings us into intangible assets versus tangible assets. So intangible assets are assets that you cannot touch. They don't have a physical structure, versus tangible assets are actually assets that you can physically touch. Some intangible assets that we can go over or that we can look into: Amazon.com, online, Prime, as we all know, well, the majority of us. This is an asset for the CEO of this company. Reason why is because majority of all people shop on Amazon.com. The more we utilize this online shopping source, the more we buy off of Amazon.shopping.com, this is the more profitable this asset becomes for the CEO. However, you can't touch it. You can just shop and choose the items that you want to buy, and then they are delivered to you, but you can't actually touch Amazon.Prime.com. That's why it's considered an intangible asset. Also, another intangible asset is your 401k. And the reason for that is it's an account, but you can't physically touch that account. You can actually reap the benefits of allocating money into the account bi-weekly or weekly pay period, depending on how you are paid from that employer. So that's an intangible asset as well. Another intangible asset we know is stocks. Now, the more that we invest into these companies, determining whether they are having like a good quarter or maybe a good year, this is more that we are able to profit in assets building. But stocks, again, it's an intangible asset. It cannot be touched. We just see stocks increasing from the companies that we choose to invest in, or decreasing. Also, last but not least, another asset is your talents, your natural talents and gifts that we all have. Those are assets such as music. Some of you guys may be able to sing or dance. You can't physically touch the action of dance, and you can't physically touch music. You can touch the singer, but the act of itself is an asset. It's intangible. Now that we have went over a few intangible assets, let's view some tangible assets. So first, of course, we have the pretty green, money. Money is a physical asset that's tangible. You can touch it and you can utilize it, build more assets with it. Another asset for my Texas audience is Buc-ee's. It's a business. It's a gas station business that started off very, very small years ago in Texas, but has now grown Texas itself in surrounding states such as Louisiana, Oklahoma, etc. But it has grown to become an asset for that business owner who first started Buc-ee's, which is probably deceased. So whoever has taken over his CEO position now, it is definitely an asset. Also, another asset that we have is real estate. Real estate is an asset. Your home, your property is considered an asset. These are some tangible assets. You can actually touch them. And last but not least, a computer. Computers are assets as well. Our phones are computers. They are programmed to do certain functions and to carry out certain tasks. So these are some tangible assets. Now, as we discuss further, assets that decrease over time versus assets that increase over time. So some assets that decrease over time, real estate. Real estate, depending on what market it is, can decrease or increase. Usually a home that is in an area whereas there's no growth, and if there's drugs, infestation of crime, criminal act in that area, your property can decrease in value. Along with it can increase if the market is up in that area and there's people that's doing a lot of reconstruction in your neighborhood and buying homes and repairing them, and also new companies and business coming. So real estate is not really considered an asset until you actually own the property. When I say own it, I don't mean financing the property, because you technically don't own that property. The lender, which is your bank, or the finance company you utilize to buy the property, owns it. But when you actually own the property free of any liens, and you are able to have income coming in from either becoming a landlord, using it as rental property, or using it as Airbnb, then you are actually generating profit off of that property, which makes it an asset, okay, to you, a profitable asset. Other than that, it's a depreciating asset. If two things, if the neighborhood that you stay in has crime, that's criminal activity that's been manifesting in it, as well as if there's no growth within the neighborhood. Another depreciating asset over time is a car. We go and we buy these fancy cars and luxury cars. However, once you remove that car from that lot, you purchase it, it has depreciated in value. So you would never, unless for some odd reason something happens to it pretty quickly after you purchase it, you won't be entitled to what you paid for that car if you was to resell it. So that's why it's a depreciating asset. Some cost-effective ways to acquire assets are to open up a high-yield savings account. Get familiar with basic investment apps such as Stash, Acorn, Public. These type of apps are for beginner investors. And they're not the apps to whereas the companies themselves are not to whereas you have to, or there's a requirement for you to invest a large amount of money into it to see a benefit or an investment out of it. Real estate, private lending, and insurance. Those are also some investments that you can look into. Also, allocating funds to a separate account that you use only for asset building. And for all of my business owners that's looking to build assets onto your business that you have, Business owners add additional services to your business with the products you already have, such as sell some of the products you buy from wholesalers, suppliers to your clients. Another tool that's good for building asset is to use your gifts and talents. Like if you cook, you bake, low-cost haircuts, for those who are not operating with an actual barber license, or you may have a barber license, but you just found out that that's not the career path that you want to use, but you can still cut hair. So utilize that as a way of building assets, as well as for people who have cosmetology license, which is the same thing, because if you have a license to cut hair, you have a license to style hair. These are all ways that you can generate additional income. Along with my business owners can exercise the barter system opposed to hiring additional employees for some work tasks, and look for opportunities to rent or lease your services in communities. So all of these are some cost-effective ways to begin asset building. And also, parents that have children, teach them how to follow your path in asset building. You can start as young as they're able to understand, far as utilize the gifts that they have or things that they seek real interest into, and teach them how to financially gain a little profit from them utilizing their natural talents as well. Next, we're going to cover a BP, which is a building plan to acquire your asset. It's a general template out of the Excel format. The BP is a self-guided template that has the months January through December indicated on it, 31 days in each month. It has first quarter through fourth quarter, and it indicates your gross expenses, net, and your ROI. So it's just like a little self-guided template that you would utilize or self-guide you to making your own to start the asset building process. So let me ask or propose this question. If you were given $500, what would you do with that money? And the reason I propose this question is, if you are able to answer that question honestly, this will actually be an eye-opener to you to see if you are really ready to start asset building. What asset building is, we ask that you start thinking like an investor with your time and your money. They focus their time and their money on areas and people that can profit them in regards to generate more profit. When thinking about asset building, this is a key factor to change a perspective shift, making sure that your time is spent well and the money that you have is invested in things that can generate more profits. You guys are more than welcome to just leave your comments to this video after you view it, as well as you can email me with your response and your comments as well. This is very important when you're beginning asset building. It's best when you are trying to establish assets, start spending by using your cash versus your credit card. They have Visa logos on them, so they are easy to use. And I think the convenience of bank making this so easily for us to swipe for purchases is also the reason why we begin to overspend. So these are some of the areas that we utilize because we have the convenience of a credit card. But if you allocate certain amount of money out of your account and utilize that for your spending for that time frame, then you'll be more conscious of what you are spending on a daily basis. And this would help you as well to guide you to utilize your money in the perspective of making profitable decisions for yourself. So this concludes our asset building for beginners. My information is in the bio. Please feel free to reach out. We do workshops and we have more education-based information on asset building. So don't hesitate to contact us at the information provided in our bio. Until next time, have a good day.